Hello. Shall we start?
Yes, sir. Starts.
Shall we start the class?
Yes, sir. Starts.
Okay. Thank you. Friends, today, due to some network problem, I could not conduct a class in the scheduled time. And with your kind cooperation, I'll be starting today's class on firewalls. Before starting the firewalls, I think today you had a meeting from the department regarding the first internal test. Even I would like to revise certain topics, but not today. But suppose if you are having a test on the second, if you are willing, I'll be interested in revising one day before the test. I'll be able to give certain topics which are important that you have to focus, and the pattern of multiple choice questions, and what are the topics that you have to focus, concentrate. Whether you'll be having innovative questions, case study questions in the form of MCQ, all those things we can discuss. Today we will discuss the firewalls, and then we'll compare firewalls with antivirus. We'll compare certain other topics with the firewalls. We have completed actually 3 modules. This is the topic which belongs to the 5th module. 4th module is completely Unix commands that we can cover later in that sequence. Okay. Actually, with respect to the firewalls, as per your syllabus, you have to understand what is a firewall very first, and the types of firewalls, and network address translation, port forwarding, firewalls and virtual private networks, how Windows firewall works, how Linux firewall works, what is not SNORT, and intrusion detection system. Since blockchain technology is an innovative topic which we introduced, blockchain technology also we will study. We have to focus these topics in depth. Very first, I will discuss the with respect to the basic understanding. Then I will go to the level of firewalls with analysis and how the firewall can be designed, configured. We can discuss. Then we will be going for the intrusion detection system, followed by that blockchain technology. This is the module 5th. As I said, we'll have the revision of the topics, not today. And the revision of the topic, if you are interested, I will do. But I am interested, no doubt. And if you want to have the specific topics discussed in the revision class, that's also maybe okay. However, you can also do the revision by listening to the YouTube classes that we will take up later in the revision class. We'll go in depth. Coming back to the firewall, as we can see in this figure, here you are having wide area network, and this is the local area network. In between you can see a firewall which is shown as like a brick, and this is an imaginary physical layer. or which won't exist actually. But still, we want to show here there is a wide area network, that is our internet, and here local area network, which is a private network. Packets which are coming from this public network into the private network, say LAN, will be filtered by the firewall. Friends, you can see your Windows firewall, you can see your Linux firewall, and you can configure them. That we will see when we go in depth with respect to the configuration of the firewall. Now, for the basic understanding, a firewall is a system designed to prevent unauthorized access to or from a private network. The packets goes from this private network onto the public network. Packets come from public network such as wide area network into private network such as LAN. In both the cases, firewall will do the filtering job. There will be a policy for the institution what type of packets have to be filtered. For example, if I don't want the students to use certain websites, college, the internet center will do the configuration so that those particular website will not be available to the students. However, students are smart enough, they will go through torrent kind of virtual private network, all the banned websites they will access. In fact, virtual private networks are biggest headache for the cyber security access control or implementation of the security. Yes, that's an important point that we have to look into at the later stages. You can implement a firewall in either hardware or software form or a combination of both. You have to remember this. A firewall may be a hardware or software or a combination of both. Firewall prevent unauthorized internet users from accessing a private networks connected to the internet, especially intranets. There are types of firewalls. We will go through a particular types of firewalls as mentioned in our syllabus. Before that, before understanding types of firewall and possible attacks on the firewalls, we have to see the possible attacks on the firewalls because we are studying cyber security. What are the possible attacks on the firewall system? We have to understand. No one can deny the fact that dynamic rise of the internet has brought the world closer. But at the same time, it has left us with the different kinds of security threats. That's why today firewall cannot be just able to work as per if then else conditions. That is not enough. That's why people are thinking to work on a disease design of the firewall with the AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So that's how people are going to redesign the firewall. Okay, we cannot deny that internet has brought the different sectors of the world close together, and we call it as a global village. But at the same time, it has left with different kinds of security threats. So internet is a great innovation, but at the same time offers several challenges. Because of that, we have cyber security today in a large scope. To ensure the confidentiality and integrity of a valuable information of a corporate network from the outside attacks, right? We use different technique, encryption, for example, for confidentiality, encryption. Different cryptographic algorithms for integrity of valuable information. Therefore, even though we have all these things, still attack happens. Therefore, we should have a robust mechanism or different points. This is where firewall comes into picture. It can be compared with a security guard standing at the entrance of a minister's or the biggest film actor. He keeps an eye on everyone and physically checks every person who wishes to enter the house. It won't allow a person to enter if he or she is carrying a harmful object like a knife, gun, etc. Similarly, even if the person that does not possess any banned object but appears suspicious, the guard can still prevent the person entry. It will not be allowing even the suspected packets, in other words. Firewall acts as a guard. It guards a corporate network, acting as a shield between the inside network and outside world. All the traffic in either direction must pass through the firewall, from private network to the public network, or from public network into the private network. The both traffic has to pass through the firewall, and firewall filters the packets called packet firewalls. It then decides whether the traffic is allowed to flow or not. The firewall can be implemented as a hardware and software or a combination of both. Right? There's another figure which you can write while you are explaining the firewall. Internet or public network. This is your firewall. This is your antenna. Here is your secure private local area network. And here is the firewall packet which are filtered will be sent to dustbin. This is another area, this is another picture of the firewall, but the concept is same. Right? Types of firewalls. Now let us go to the types of firewalls. Packet filters. As you aware, packet is a name of the data exchange unit on a typical OSI reference model. In a OSI reference model, you are having different layers. As you are all aware, there are 7 layers: physical layer, data network layer, data layer, network layer, right? Transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. On a physical layer, we call it as 0 and 1s. On a data link layer, it is frame. On network layer, it is packets. Network layer is layer 3 in the OSI reference model. Therefore, packet filters are also called as network filters, are also called as network layer 3 filters. It works totally, packet filter works on the network layer of the OSI model. It applies a set of rules based on the content of IP, Internet Protocol, and transport header feeds. On each packet and based on the outcome decides. Example, a rule could specify to block all incoming traffic from a certain IP address or disallow traffic that uses UDP protocol. If there is no match with any predefined rules, it will take default action. That the default action can be discard all packets or to accept all packets. That means depending upon the configuration, depending upon the policy decision of the organization, it works. Okay. Security threats to packet filters. This is a very important for us. IP address spoofing. Friends, you have to see what is IP address spoofing, what is email spoofing. In this kind of attack, an intruder from the outside tries to send a packet towards the internal corporate network with the source IP address set equal to one of the IP address of the internal users. He will uses one of the internal, the private network IP addresses he will be knowing, and with that he will do IP address spoofing. Prevention. Firewall can defeat this attack if it discards all the packets that arrive at the incoming side of the firewalls. Source routing attack. In this kind of attack, the attacker specifies the route to be taken by the packet with a hope to fool the firewall. But how it prevents? Firewall can defeat this attack if it discards all the packets that use the option of source routing, also known as path addressing, to make firewall more intelligent. Friends, today in the era of cybersecurity implementation, blockchain technology implementation, firewall needs to be more intelligent. Therefore, people will be working using the artificial intelligence and machine learning with respect to redesign of the firewall. Another important attack is called tiny fragment attacks. Many times, size of the packet is greater than the maximum size allowed by the underlying network such as Ethernet. Friends, you know the Ethernet frame size is 1500 bytes. That's the maximum size of the Ethernet frame. Token ring, etc. In such cases, packets need to be fragmented. You have studied in your networks. Why fragmentation is required? Why segmentation is required? Right? Why reassembling has to be done? All those things you have studied because the underlying 1500 bytes, for example. Suppose if a packet of size greater than 1500 has to move into the network, means obviously fragmentation has to happen so that it can be carried further. The attacker uses this characteristic of TCP/IP protocol. In this kind of attack, attacker intentionally creates fragments of the original packet and send it to fool the firewall. Prevention. Firewall can defeat this attack if it discards all the packets which uses the TCP protocol and is fragmented. Dynamic packet filters allow incoming TCP packets only if they are responses to the outgoing TCP packet. Point is to be noted. The second type of firewall, application gateways. It's also known as proxy server. It works as follows. User contacts the application gateway using TCP/IP applications such as HTTP. The application gateway asks about the remote host with which the user wants to establish a connection. It also asks for the user ID and password that is required to access the services of the application gateway. In the third step, after verifying the authenticity of the user, the application gateway accesses the remote host on behalf of the user to deliver the packets. Right? This next is another the stateful inspection firewall. So the next type of firewall is stateful inspection firewalls. Stateless. What is stateless and what is stateful? The point to be noted, right? We say HTTP is a stateless protocol. Hypertext transfer protocol is a stateless protocol, right? So after some age, say 60 years, we'll become stateless. That means we'll not be able to remember where we have kept our things. Somebody has to. Previous history is not known. Whereas stateful is something known about the previous history and next actions also may be influenced or based on the inputs of the previous history, the next decision might have been taken. That's possible. Stateful stateful inspection firewalls are also known as dynamic packet filter firewalls. Whereas the stateful inspection firewalls are dynamic packet filter firewalls. It keeps track of the state of active connections. Why it is dynamic? Why it is stateful? It keeps track of the state of active connections and uses this information to decide which package to allow through it. That is, it adapts itself to the current exchange of information. Unlike the normal packet filters, stateless packet filters, which have hard coded routing rules. Use means it will use this IP address you should not. Allow means it won't allow. But however, stateful are intelligent compared to normal packet filters or stateless packet filters. These are the basics that we have to understand. Circuit level gateways, the next time. It works at the session layer of the OSI model. We have seen the stateful inspection firewall working on the network layer. Packet filter firewall works on the network layer. Now we are looking at circuit level gateways. These types of firewalls works at the session layer of the OSI model. Session, presentation and application layer. In the OSI model, recall session layer. It is the advanced variation of the application gateway. Application gateway works at the application layer. There is a difference between the gateway and the router. Gateway will not be knowing the path, it won't remember the route. It acts as a virtual connection between the remote host and the internal users by creating a new connection between itself and the remote host. It also changes the source IP address in the packet and puts its own address at the place of the source IP address of the packet from end users. This way, the IP addresses of the internal users are hidden and secured from the Google world, outside world. Okay, now difference between router and firewall. Obviously, router and firewall are different, right? Router is a connecting device in the network. It connects. Firewall, it's not about the connection. It is about filtering. Routers is used to select the shortest routes for a packet to achieve its target. It should be shortest. Shortness need not be the physically short distance. Shortest in the sense it is an optimal one. If the enough bandwidth is available for your packet route as per the application requirement, then also it is the shortest path. If the bandwidth is not a constraint, even though bandwidth available can vary, but the time taken should not vary. Jitter should not have too much of variation, right? Acceptable, tolerable jitter. Jitter means deviation in time delay. To move from Yelahanka to the Majestic takes half an hour. For somebody else, it takes 40 minutes. Given that one takes 30 minutes, another takes 40 minutes, I add tolerance value of 10, so I suspect its reachability to the majestic. So that 10 minutes is a tolerance value. Variation in the tolerance value, that is 10 minutes variation, 15 minutes variation, that is called jitter, variation in time delay, right? So without that variation, if a router is able to find an optimal path for the packet, it's a good router. Therefore, we are having different routing algorithm, basic routing algorithms you have studied, like distance vector routing algorithm, shortest path routing algorithm, right? Distributed distance vector algorithm. So many different types of routing algorithm you have studied for the network protocols and wireless networks, for ad hoc networks. Different routing protocols exist. Router implements such routing protocols. Its main purpose is to attach different networks simultaneously. Like firewall, it also works on the network layer, but it it also works on the physical layer and data link layer of the OSI, open system interconnection model. Unlike firewall, it does not include encryption, right, before routing the networks. A router does not protect the network from the threats, but it includes the sharing provision to share internet connection between the networks. Friends, remember these things. These are very basics. Module, such questions may be asked in the multiple choice questions or in the main examination. We don't know the main examination how they will conduct, maybe descriptive or multiple choice questions. This semester, it is better to be, get familiar with both kind of questions extensively, multiple choice questions as well as descriptive questions. Suppose in case main examination you have to write in a descriptive way, in a traditional way, then you should practice that also. And you have answered already two multiple choice question tests for the quiz assessment 1 and 2, and few more tests, internal tests it will be conducting, which are also multiple choice questions, but also have the practice of writing the tests which are descriptive in nature, because subject demands, as a PG students, it demands you to have the knowledge of the subject and you should be able to describe them. Okay, this is the router. You can write this diagram to differentiate the router and the firewall. Here is the internet modem router, then computer 1 and 2. This is a simple diagram of the router. Firewall is the specified version of the router. All data packets will be routing through it, entering through it. Dropping network passes through the firewall, and after checking whether the firewall allows it or not, all traffic must pass through the firewall and only authorized traffic must pass. Firewall must be strong. It is a where it implements an access control policy between those networks like router. It also works on network layer of the OS, encryption to encrypt the data before transmission. Therefore, firewall implements security mechanisms. Remember this. A firewall does not share the network, whereas router shares the network. But firewall includes protecting provision to protect the network from the threats. So firewall should think of protecting from the threats. This is the firewall, public network, private network, right? So for the differentiating purpose of firewall and the router, you have to write this figure. Difference between firewall and examination also, it is important. Difference between firewall and antivirus and firewall and router. So some glimpses of firewall and antivirus. Firewall is a specified version of router, as I have already told. In this, all data packets are entering or leaving the network pass through firewall, and after examination, firewall decides whether to allow these set of packets or not. In firewall, all traffic must pass through it, and only authorized traffic should be allowed to pass. Firewall should be strong. This is what you have seen. Coming to the antivirus, antivirus is an application or software. There is no only hardware or software or combination of both. Antivirus is a software which provides security from the malicious software coming from the internet. An antivirus chases the method in which it performs three main actions. It detects, it identifies, and removes the virus. And friends, it is implemented only as a software and not as a hardware. Friends, today we have discussed what is a firewall, what are the types of firewall, and antivirus and firewall. So this is the enough for today's class. Please go through it. First, in every unit, I am covering the basics. After knowing the basics, if you know the basics, if you have studied somewhere, still it is our duty to revise the entire thing. Now, what is firewall? What are the different types of firewalls? Firewall and antivirus, firewall and routers are is these concepts are known to you. You go through these concepts once again. I am sharing after every video class YouTube video. I am uploading as well as PPTs I have given. In the next class, we'll have some more discussion with respect to the firewall, and also I would like to revise the first test portions, and then I will tell you what are the things which are important. And I'm thankful to all of you for listening, attending the class, understanding teachers' problems. Thanks to all of you once again. Thank you. Have a good day.